Hello, everyone, and welcome to Addicted to Art. This week featuring SidXO, the multimedia powerhouse that uses vibrant color and deconstructed pop culture to lure viewers in before taking them on a frenetic, emotive journey of empathy and discovery. Sid, my man, amped to have you with us today to learn more about you and your work.
Hello, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
Genuinely
Nice
hyped
to
up
see you.
genuinely hyped up when I had first seen what you were creating and learning a bit more about the process and all of it that it entailed. And as I looked more into you as a creative, you've been someone that I've had my eye on for some time, and just that you touch so many different facets. So I know a lot of people are excited to learn more. But for those who may not be familiar with Sid, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and walk us through your background and journey in art?
Yeah, sure. So, as far as I'm concerned, art started right at the very beginning when I was really young, like a little kid. And I had this expression where I just needed to get stuff out. I'd draw things on the wall, and I'd color things in all over the place. I was just like, I actually was born a graffiti artist, a little vandal. And that just continued on. I got so into computers and artwork at a really young age, like 6 years old. I started learning computing, and it just really took me on this journey where I could get what was inside of me and what was inside of my head out in a form that people could then see for themselves. It's quite an exciting experience being able to do that. And you don't realize that not everybody has that sort of gifting or ability until you start meeting up with quite a lot of different people and talking about these sorts of things and sort of seeing eye to eye and so on. So I tried out getting into art school and really got bombed out and did not make it into art school. However, I chose my own path, and I think I found my own way, found my own style, and I've had a lot of fun along the way. I think I might have had a more boring journey had I not been refused that opportunity. So yeah, here I am.
Very cool. And I love the resilience of not taking no for an answer when it came to art school. You say when you were young, you were always very, very expressive, whether it was, drawing on the wall or trying to use computers. I see that even now. And I love to talk about the different media that you touch and the different types of formats. But what were some of the other things that you had been doing, throughout the years and that journey leading up to your application for art school and college?
Okay, so yeah, interesting. I've got a friend that we sat down together. We've between us, we've had quite a lot of jobs in our early years, and so we added all of these different jobs up in this conversation. I worked out that I'd had about 45 different jobs before I landed in a position where I was actually working for myself, and all that time I'd sort of been chasing around in this circle, coming to this conclusion whereby I actually had the capability and the skills to be able to make money with my own, be who I am, and just get out there and do something myself. So it was interesting. I've done sewer surveying. I've worked in the building trade. I've been in factories. I've done aid work. I've travelled to different nations. I've worked abroad. I've traveled all around the United Kingdom and lived in a lot of different places. And I really didn't find that I'd settled until I connected with computers and graphic design, 3D, all of these kinds of things just culminated together. And there was an opportunity for me to build a business out of this. All of these things that I'd loved so much, I didn't realize my value in that world. And so it all sort of came together about 15 years ago for me when I started my first company up. And computers and artwork just kind of have led the way since then. It's been very exciting.
Now I can only imagine, in high school, did you have computers where you're already on that path then, messing around with graphic design? And what were you doing? Were you making album covers for people? Were you just toying around and showing people dope stuff? What was going on as you were heading into that application?
Interesting. Yeah. So I early on, what I used to do is like we've got memes now, okay, where you would stick some words on something and bang it on a post. I was doing sort of like these caricatures of people and situations and maybe my teachers. So I'd get on the RM Nimbus. Anyone, I don't know if you know what an RM Nimbus is, but look it up, RM Nimbus computer. And we had those at secondary school. And that was our sort of go-to tool. And the teacher would come in the class, like a lot of the other classes, and they'd walk in the room and they'd say, look, there's some stuff on the board, and go and do what the things are on the board and get on with it. And none of us would do that because, we were kids. We weren't really interested in learning all the things on the board. We wanted to make our own way. And so we'd go straight to Paint or what was it? What was it called before MS Paint? There was another name, Draw or something. Yeah, there we go. That's the puppy. And we'd jump on these things and we'd like scribble with the mouse and paint all kinds of weird stuff and just have a ball. And I was so enamored with the fact that I could take this mouse, I could wiggle it around and press a few buttons, and it would paint this thing on the screen that then I could keep. It was really awesome that I've got all these files that would stay intact. I mean, I've got all this kind of stuff that's around in the house, and wear and tear just adds to it and kind of, takes away from some of it, depending on how you look at things. But eventually, stuff wears out. Whereas on the computer, it was almost like this form where it remained perfect, and that kind of led me into chasing up with 3D and match moving and working in 3ds Max. I don't know if you're familiar with 3ds Max or have used that as a tool, but many moons ago, I was on like very early versions of 3ds Max. It was such a powerful tool because I'm musical, so I could write some scores and things like that. I could throw them in there, and then I could create some sort of model, and I could animate it, and I could play around with all of these different tools in one space, and it just felt like, so freeing. So yeah, that was kind of the stuff that I was playing around with for some time, and it sort of led to during my college years, my parents would say to me, they'd constantly say, "What the hell are you doing with your life? Like, really, what are you doing? You've got you sat in front of a computer." You're an absolute geekazoid learning all of this Photoshop and all, where's that ever going to get you? Where is a computer ever going to get you in life? And believe it or not, I kind of bought into that a little bit. And so I shelved it for a short period of time. And it was so connected to me, this expression and this capability in the computer, that I would always find my way back to this, and it was always going to be my job. It was always going to be the thing that I just loved so much and I enjoyed. So yeah, that's sort of like a roundabout story in kind of how things came to be, and I just added to it.
I love that. It's so relatable to me actually, because I can remember when I was in high school, I had a lot of things that people were pushing me to do, from med school and engineering, and everybody has some ambitions that they want you to follow along with. But for me, I
Right.
thought the world of possibilities in this box that took me outside of where I was and let me do all these things I couldn't physically do I was so enamored with the computer at, at such an early age, and kind of as it was progressing. And they were like, yeah, why waste your time on that though? Go do these other important things. That's kind of almost like a hobby or a toy or something, right? They really pushed it off, and in so many ways it enabled me to do so many things in my life. So I can 100% see them, even with you being as creative as you are, right? Not really seeing the opportunity that it would provide. But the
Yeah.
proliferation of the technology made it where it was everywhere and a lot more accessible. So I guess in that way, they didn't have the foresight that you did, that this is something to continue on this path. So you're doing all this
No.
amazing stuff. You're super creative. You have the tech background. Uh,
Yeah.
Let me circle back around. SidXO. let us
Yeah.
know what that represents. That's not your Sid is not your name.
Sid's
How?
not my real name,
Right, right.
but okay. So Sid has been my name for about 18 years, and it's actually my real name is Tim Dobson, and you can find that on the internet if you look around. It's on some of my feeds and things like that. But my nephew, when he was born, he had a speech impediment for the first part of his life, and he could never say my name. And due to the circumstances of his family life and things like that, he lived with my parents. And so whenever I'd see him a lot, he would just call me Sid. And I've always been Sid. So regardless of who knew me from school and whatever, I would always be Tim to them. And to my family, I've always been Sid. And so just the XO added on there is kind of the expression of the passion that I've got for kindness and just expressing that, hugs and kisses kind of a ethos really. But yeah, it's all about the bright art and the expression that I've got sort of with the hidden meanings behind stuff. And it ties in the X and the O actually ties into this little character. I did actually the first piece. I've actually got it. I've got it still here. This is my. This is a. I'm not sure how close we are in, but this is a piece called "We All Bleed the Same Color," and it's quite a expressive piece. It's quite sort of edgy because there's violence. You've got razor blades and bullets and a bit of blood and things like that. But these exioses, as I call them, these are almost like representative of a soul. And each one of these souls is completely different. Our souls don't have a color or a creed or a sexuality or any of that stuff. They just are. And so where the human side of us is the part that defines and categorizes, whereas within our soul, we're all the same sort of entity, if you like, and it's only our circumstances, our beliefs, that kind of stuff that makes us the unique individuals that we are. And I just sort of, I took that aspect of things and thought, this is so powerful and it's got legs in so many different directions. And it really helps to portray that sort of, that theme, as it were. And that then led into what we now have as these kind of puzzles and things like that, where I like to represent sort of like neurodiversity and looking at things through eyes that may see things that are partially recognizable, but not in full. And so the X is almost like one of your eyes is missing, and the O is like the full all-seeing eye. And therefore, there's only half of what is visible is being processed. And it's kind of a representation of we've got a personal journey with autism in our family. And so that kind of really helps to express the way that I would see things and that people in our family would describe things from their perspective. So yeah, you've also got, you see, there's, I've just seen in the picture up there, you've got the hashes as well. And I like to express an X, an O, and then the two hashes. And those kind of like gates over the mouth as sort of an expression that you may not actually be able to communicate verbally the thing that you're thinking. And that can be so frustrating for us at times. That can be so annoying. And it requires utter patience and endurance to be able to just get through that to the point where you are able to express it. And sometimes people don't have the time available for you to do that. And so, what I'm trying to portray here is just that we should be a little more patient and open, and we all are puzzles. We're not pieces of a puzzle. We're actually constantly seeing puzzles and interpreting puzzles, in how we categorize things, as how we put things together. And so this whole pop soup, if you like, is the expression provided that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I was very moved when I read that about your work, and even how the colors were representative to the world just being frenetic, and I'm trying to absorb, so many different stimuli at the same time, and how
Yeah.
that could be how someone is interpreting. But on the flip side, looking at it from that perspective is just love. Like, how could you not be enamored with someone that sees the world that way and would be positive, or just going through their emotions, but knowing that that's their experience? It's so different than what you're seeing in piecemeal than the collective whole of that experience. And so I got all of that from your work, and especially once you shared more of the context, I found it had so much more nuanced meaning. And I know that you worked at put even more in that. So how would you first of all, from a style and aesthetic standpoint, we touched on it, if you had to characterize it, how would you characterize your style and aesthetic?
Wow. So I would categorize it as pop art, mainly because what I've done is I've purposely chosen recognizable um, pop culture references, and I don't want to name any. Well, let's say we could choose this T-shirt. We could take Street Fighter, and what we do is we spin that and we recycle the colors. I think it's important to recycle the colors so that they don't represent what they do potentially to everybody else. And so it's kind of flipping it a little bit and then recycle all that, wash it up, and then chop parts of it out and resize or, make it so that that is still recognizable in part. If I were to sort of section part of this up, I'm trying to do this in the mirror. But if we were to just take this bit, would you recognize that as Street Fighter now? Potentially you would if you had it on your desk, like if you had the computer game on your desk or something like that. But you might have to really think about that. And it's that process that I'm trying to give people the experience of. It's not just you've got some splashes of color and it kind of looks like something. There's more to it in the puzzle that you're uncovering and what's represented there. And by uncovering those things, you're kind of taking part in this journey. And I just felt like it was a really awesome way of describing a personal journey. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, but I am geek enough that I would look at those colors in that text, and but I'm the guy out at the lake with my son throwing a Hadouken underwater at him, right? So I guess to each their own, right? For which characters would resonate.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that characterization, and I'd like to talk more about the hidden meaning, because it seems to me the way you allude to it, and I could be reading more into it, that it's layered, that there's layers of hidden things and nuance, that as you continue to look at it and interpret and understand what you're trying to express, there's multiple facets of meaning here. And I think you actually describe it at some point as leaving things for people to discover.
Yeah, exactly. So there are two things really that I love to portray. One of them is this superpower that we have as creators. We have this superpower whereby we can create something, output that entity, and it can travel out into the world and people can have possession of it. And we're not even in the room with them, and they can smile and they can feel something awesome from that, like this good feeling. So, something brilliant and uplifting, which is what I want people to feel. And then there's also this aspect with the layers, where I will actually cross cut and chop and mix and weave things. So there's depth to it, because we're not just flat. We're not individually, we're not flat. And even if you were to see this character painted up in the sort of flat art style or super flat style, it wouldn't have the impact of the depth. It's like you're kind of looking into a box. And so seeing inside that is like, there is more to me. What's within, what's tied into this soul, experiences, cool, attractive stuff is in there for you to find. And I want people to be able to have that on display and feel as if that's represented. So yeah, that's
I
the
love that.
sort of angle.
even just sitting here, looking at I forgot this character's name, but the silhouette of the one from the Lego movie here, and I see, I don't know, is that an axis in their leg? And then I'm looking at text on the side, and then I'm seeing more things that are used as textures, and then I'm looking in the background, and there's stuff in negative space, even just on that superficial and what I'm looking at. So there's so much care. There's so much creativity put into this, layers upon layers, and I really appreciate you sharing more context of that. And of course, this is not the only style that you've shared in recent publishes, right? There's other stuff that you do as well. Um,
Yep.
Before we talk, and I'd love to go through uh, a bit of what you currently have out there in the NFT space, but you
Yep.
stylistically, from the time when you were doing stuff in high school on the computer, realized you thought, hey, I want to try to push this and do more of it. um, how has your style evolved over time? Were you always making this type of stuff? You talked about the
No.
caricatures, but has it changed as you've matured and grown?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the stuff that I started out making was close to like um, abysmal. It was abysmal. But I mean, the point of it was, when I was making this stuff, was with the caricatures and things like that, it was to actually portray something and to get people a bit of a rise, and to reflect my sense of humor. And so it didn't need to be that good, and so I could bang stuff out left, right, and center. And as times progressed, I've gone through all kinds of different processes. I first started out in pencil drawing. I was obsessed with kind of technical drawings and aircraft. Absolutely loved the F-14, and I used to just draw F-14s to Kingdom Come. Excuse me, Porsche 911s. Loved them. Used to draw tons of froggy cars all the time, and it sort of got to this point where what I realized is I was just copying stuff, and it was almost just like a carbon copy of things. It was like taking one of these cards and then taking a photograph of it and then sticking it next to it and going, oh yeah, they look the same. And it didn't really resonate with an artistic input. It didn't express anything. It was good, but it still didn't express something. And I think it's more important for you to express something than to have that technical drawing or painting skill. So I then went on into watercolors because they're a bit more dirty and messy, and that sort of helped me a little. And I ended up, when I took my portfolio to university with these A1 pieces that were like huge skies, like a Turner-esque sky. Tried to just make the most beautiful painting of a sky and then ruin it with a marker. And I scribbled all over it and drew all of these like pylons and cell towers, barbed wire, just these silhouettes on top that were representative of this nature. And then to juxtapose that, we've got people stuff. And look at the most gaudy people stuff in existence sitting on top of the most beautiful thing in creation. And it just kind of, it felt to me representative of us. We're here in this place, but sometimes not all of the things that we do have a positive impact. And it was almost like we've kind of got this black, dark, industrial looking structure. And I really felt that juxtaposition was worthy of me, expressing a particular opinion. But the people in the university that I sat down with the head of department and the second in command, and they looked at this stuff and they were like, what? Like, this isn't art. This, like, you're wasting your time. And then I picked up my stuff and said, I'm really sorry to have wasted your time. Thank you. At least now I know. That's what was in my head. At least now I know that I've wasted my time by being in this room. And I left. So anyway, a few of my buddies that had been along and they'd taken this course, they said to me, so when are you starting? I was like, I'm not, but the stuff you're doing is awesome. I was like, obviously not, because they've told me that it was rubbish. They don't really want to see anything like that again. And I left, and they said, no, you're an absolute idiot. What you've got to do is you've got to tell them why it's amazing, and you've got to come back and argue with them and sort of put this whole thing together. Did you not go in there prepared with your argument? I was like, no, I didn't realize I need to argue what I want to make, whether it's allowed or not. And so there was this, at one point in time, there was actually this big thing, where in the art world, in universities, that must have been a trend. And so in a way, I'm thankful, because what that did is that almost told me institutional art isn't the way that you're going to be headed, and you've got to go and kind of craft your own style and get on with it for yourself. And so that helped me. That pushed me on.
That's awesome that it lit a fire under you instead of discourage you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I know there's a lot that goes into this, but what would you say are some of your early influences that kind of shaped your style and how you approach the art world? Were there particular artists that really resonated with you, or something you would say that, from an experiential standpoint, things that you were around that you would say, hey, this is a big contribution to how I look and how I approach my art today?
Yes. Yeah, I've always massively been into comics and into 80s cartoons. Sorry, my watch is going off. And all sorts of anime, everything that was bright, basically stuff that was in these kinds of colors that was just representative of something cool to a kid that's 8 years old and has nothing better to do on a Saturday morning and loves these hard rock theme tunes. And that was it. That was my influence. That was my in. And I think as times have moved forward, and as I've kind of crafted and honed my skills, the stuff that you just got up now, I recognize the importance of giving back and passing something on and having like this mantle, that it would almost be poor stewardship of a skill to not hand over part of that and to do something to use it to benefit people of the next generation and so on. And so I've been involved in youth stuff like, scouting and things like that, and a lot of other community-based stuff for about the last 20 years, quite an awful lot of stuff, just helping people out in their lives. And it's what I'm reflecting in the stuff that you see is basically that exact sort of journey, is meeting up, seeing that there are ways that I can actually help people out, or sometimes there are ways that I need helping out. And there's this reciprocation, and there's this kind of stewardship of a gift, and just making sure that you constantly looking out for each other, taking care, those kinds of things. It's really important. So yeah, 80s cartoons through to working stuff in the community. How does that figure?
I think that's perfect segue as to why you can encourage your family to watch the 80s cartoons. I don't know if that gets traction for you. I try and get rebuffed most often. Even Thundercats, even things that should be grails, are shunned in my house by my little guy, but I'm working on it. But talk about family. Is that a big part of your inspiration and what you do with your art?
Well, I have had, we've had pretty tough few years as a family, because of the sort of neurodiversity aspect. We had a long period, I'd say 9 years, 8 to 9 years of no sleep. For when I say no sleep, I mean like 1 to 2 hours an evening, something like that, for that whole period of time, and just no relent, due to one of my children had severe anxiety, and is now in a position where that's kind of been scaffolded and has been taken care of, and he's sort of coming into his own. But in the early years, we just didn't understand what was going on. We really didn't know. We were at a loss. We're brand new parents. We've got two little babies. They're 12 months apart from one another, and it was seriously hard work. I've got 3 businesses. My wife and I actually ran a church for 5 years, and there's so much stuff all going on at the same time with a family. It just became insane. And eventually what happened is we got through to a particular group that could do a diagnosis, and sitting down, going through some training courses and things like this, we got a diagnosis specified. And throughout that process, I recognized in my own childhood very, very similar things that had gone on. And, you know, it got to a certain point where I thought maybe I need to go and get this done. And, you know, it was really interesting because the doctor that gave my son his diagnosis said to me, you know, you're 40 years old or whatever. You've got this far in your life and look at where you are. Why would you ever need a piece of paper to say, you know, you have a particular, you know, neurodiverse aspect to you or whatever? And I thought about that for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, you know, it completely makes sense. What's the point? You know, I am who I am. I've got to where I am. I've got a lot of good friends. We've made some wonderful life. And we're starting to figure things out to an even deeper level. And so that's tied in with the aspect of the whole, you know, this neurodiversity coloring. I purposely don't give things the color that they should have IRL. I just don't like that. I don't think it represents what I'm trying to say. And I feel almost as if in doing what I've done, I've created a style that is Sid. People can see stuff and go, well, that's SidXO. And my friends do. Like I've got quite a few pieces around and about in the village, and people see this stuff and they're like, good grief, you know, how things have moved forward and where you've come from. Just, you know, you see these early pieces that you've got up here, these little scribbles and things like that. I'm like, I've kept them on as my first pieces on Instagram because I'm proud of the stuff that I've produced up to the point where I am now. And I've really tried to hone my craft to be able to make things as beautiful as I possibly can. And so there's been this aspect of, in my life, having to overcome several struggles, especially with the whole art thing and being turned down. I've almost used that to fuel a fire that you ask my friends and people around me how difficult it would be to dissuade me from completing what I set out to achieve. And so it's just, wanting to pass that on to the kids and show them through my actions, you know, this is who you can be, this is where you can go, and look at where I was. I wasn't talented. I wasn't something incredible. I've worked at those and I'm still a work in progress, but look at where you can get to if you just keep going. And so, you know, there's so much further to catapult out to, but it's, you know, I'm often shocked and surprised at being in magazines and coming on the whale community and just, you know, being known to people. It's it really is something that I sort of, it's a privilege.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing those details about you and your family. I would say that I think a lot of people listening are pretty inspired hearing that. I think that that takes remarkable
Good.
gumption, and not everybody would be able to do that, to take that scenario and that situation and turn it into such a net positive, not only for the people around them, not only for the people that they care about, but on a broader basis, and just empowering and helping people throughout the world, not only
Yeah.
that are involved in it, but also people that will come across others and the way that they perceive. So incredible insight into what makes you tick, and you know,
Thanks.
all of what you do and how you put it together. It's pretty hard to segue from that to my next question, but I'd be remiss if I
Go
didn't
on.
ask. So, Sid, when I saw you posting some of your recent works, which are incredible, and we
Yep.
were talking about it, something that you told me really stuck with me, and that was, it may not be for this particular piece, but whatever piece I was looking at, I said, "This is awesome. Tell me about it." And one of the things you told me is, "Yeah, I'm retro creating the NFT for something that I had created physically. That's what I'm working on
Yeah.
now." Talk to me about that, your creative process. First of all, did you get involved in this space and then try to take what you have already done physically and manifest them as NFTs? And is that your typical process, or was that just when you were coming in?
No, no. So October, it'll be October last year. I saw there was this young lad. I can't think of his name now. Um, the little 13-year-old guy who did the Benjamin something. Oh goodness, it
The
fails me.
whales, the
This,
little whales.
the little whales,
Yeah.
absolutely. He made those little whales, and I saw that, and I thought that is absolutely amazing. What is so amazing about it is nothing to do with the money, nothing to do with the whales or anything. You know, before we get to all of that, there's a 13-year-old boy who's been accepted by a community. Who are they? Who are these people who are letting somebody with a gift at that age have a spotlight and encouraging them? Because I want to be in there. I want to join that. I agree with this. And so that's my route in to making the original XEOZ NFTs. And these were a series of little hearts with the X and O and the hashes on. And I spent a couple of weeks painting and drawing and chopping up and making these physical bits that I then scanned in, and I layered up thousands of little pieces. And then what I did is I wrote a program, and the program would take my coloring. So I've got my own sort of coloring system, and I use very particular things. And one example would be sort of when you cross over, say, a red and a yellow, the color charts say you need to make an orange there now because this is how color works. And I threw that in the bin because I don't like that. That doesn't, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something different. And so I created this whole process where I would code the gaps and the fills that would overlay to become something completely new and a brand new color that was not the one it was supposed to be. And so what this program did is it built thousands and thousands. I think we were almost into the millions of these iterations. And then I picked out at random a few hundred and stuck them together and made these videos. And I put all these little heart videos and little lollipops and the spooks and sweets. So it was lollipops and skulls and sweeties and ghosts and things like that. And in fact, I think I've got something. Yeah, so like these. So something like this, like which way around are we? There we go. So like one of those, like a little Gucci skull, or a ghosty. That kind of stuff, and it would flash. All these thousands of layers would be flashing at you, and it was this pure sensory overload. It was like it was designed to just make you go, "Wow, I've never seen anything like this before. What the hell's going on?" And the sort of confusion was the experience that I was trying to get across to people in that artwork. But I saw there were all these PFP projects and things like that out there. And what people were doing was saying, I've got 10,000 of one of these. I've got 20,000 of one of them. I've got 909. And they're sticking all of these numbers everywhere and saying, right, you've got to, collect them all and you'll be something special in our community. And I'd got this stuff together and put it online. And I looked at how it could relate to that. And I sort of felt like, maybe people will see this through the wrong eyes. Maybe people will think that I'm trying to make PFPs and this whole experience thing won't make sense to them, and they'll just go, that's shit. And I genuinely spent a bit of time on it, but I thought, I've got to bite my knuckles and I'm going to do it. And I killed them. So I burned them all. Everything that you've got on there is burned. It's a goner. And it's actually going to be a phoenix rising from the flames. So watch this space. But I didn't feel like it had the value. I didn't feel like it gave the ethos and what I wanted to actually portray. And so instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize those and put them together in a special way in order to form a series of a very small number of one-on-ones. And so, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of doing, but yeah, that's all still happening. So that was my journey in, was just playing around with code like I normally do, playing around with art, developing a style, going to market with something, and then realizing I joined in Whale Community. I think it was February. Jumped in, first talk. Hi everybody, we've got Twitter Space, and it's Brendan Dawes. I was like, bloody hell, this guy sounds cool. And he was talking about all of this using computer code, and I was like, what? Hold on, this is my world. This is what I do. And so I immediately started looking up his stuff, and I was enamored. I listened to his story. I think it was Whale Shark was interviewing him for the second time, and I was just, it really had this big impact on me. And so I started looking into things in a slightly different way, more heartfelt art, rather than kind of looking from a perspective of here's a collection of a few shallow characters that really I don't have anything more to offer behind them. Whereas I feel like the stuff that I'm doing now has got a lot of heart in it. And there's certainly I've made a promise to people on these XEOs. It's about a 6-month hodl, and it's not fanny packs, it's not headbands, it's not bullshit. I believe that, you know, when you see all these people grabbing something and flipping it and grabbing it and flipping it, that sort of hurts me a little bit, because all you're seeing me is a cash cow. And I don't want people to see that with my work. I want the people that actually love and respect it to own it, and for it to go to its rightful owners. And so once those people are holding that, you know, after they've kept it for 6 months, you've now got this on stream, so you can call me up on it. It's on my Twitter feed. I'll be rewarding those people with something really beautiful.
That's super dope. And speaking of really beautiful, I want to make sure before I get further caught up in this conversation and miss the minting period, which happens when I get really enthralled with a creative like yourself.
Pineapple.
Yeah, we definitely have an absolutely grail dope POAP for everyone that's tuned in. So if you're familiar with Whale, you know that we are leaning into Web3 with POAPs that essentially will, in aggregate, help you unlock different features that we have here, and that we will have moving forward with our new web presence. The way to access and the way to get the POAP, if you're not familiar, be sure to download the POAP app on your phone. If you have it, there's a button on the bottom right-hand side that says Mint Plus. You're going to click that, and there'll be an option for a secret phrase. And I'll give that secret phrase in just a couple of minutes to give anyone that does not have the app on their phone a chance to go ahead and download that. But Sid, you mentioned that was your way in. You had seen that, you were inspired, you hopped in, you created that, you realized I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. But at the same time, you've been creating for some time in different mediums. I saw that, you know, you have this broad oak business as well, right? So you were creating physicals prior to the NFT space?
Yeah. It's got I would take logs, still do take big pieces of oak, huge, chop it up all myself, and then let me grab you one. Give me 3 seconds. I'll grab you one to look at.
And in the interim, everyone that does not have it, be sure to be downloading the POAP app. It's a quick download.
So yeah, chop it all up, and then I love one-line art. I'm not sure if one-line art appeals to people, but I love you stick your pen on the paper, you don't take it off until you've completed your picture. And it as an artist, it is really, really difficult to do that, because any slight mistakes or deviations that you make, you have to cover those up. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a complete mess, and you've got to start all over again. And so what I'd do is I'd take a few different themes, I'd draw those up, and then I'd actually cut them out using a router by hand, and just sit there and carve the whole thing out, and then paint in the inset. So that's kind of like your average sort of broad oak piece, and those like people are pretty astounded. I've got some friends who are carpenters and only deal with super unique materials and things like that, and to hear feedback from them that yeah, this is really nice. I was kind of like, okay, well that kind of meets the standard then, because I only like to make quality, beautiful stuff, and if it isn't, I need to know about it. I'm in the process. I've got 2 or 3 people that I'll run stuff by, and if it doesn't fly and if it doesn't work, it doesn't go out there. That's it. I think it's important to have that sort of process somewhere, a sense check, because we don't want to distribute crap. We actually want to make great stuff, and if you actually want to be able to put something together in a well formed, as a well formed output, sometimes it takes time, and sometimes you've got to learn a new skill, and sometimes it's hard. But don't give up. Keep going at it, and you'll eventually crack it. I've spent yonkers on some of these things. So yeah, even just the little stuff that picture that you've got there is now filled in and sits in one of the schools. That was a gift during COVID. The school that my kids were attending had, the school was so good to us, and so I made a piece and donated that to them, and they've got it in a really treasured place, which is so kind.
Let
So
me just
yeah,
let me just clarify for a moment here that this is an homage to the Mandalorian or Boba Fett, not DC.
yeah.
All right. I just said, for those tuning in, I had to get that out there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
guys,
this.
Go ahead.
Go on. No, I was going to say this outdates them by a little while.
I'm sure it does. He's a Johnny come lately for sure. So for everyone tuning in, it's POAP time. Open your POAP app. The secret word for the POAP today is through my eyes. Through my eyes. This is a limited circulation POAP. So you got to be quick on the draw to be able to get it, but it is super, super dope with the piece hand chosen by Sid to be featured in it. So excited to be sharing it with everyone today.
I love it. My kids,
Go
earlier
ahead.
on, my kids said to me, can we get a wallet? I was like, yeah, sure, you can get a wallet. And they said, well, if we get a wallet, does that mean that we get to have your POAP? I was like, yeah, you sure do. We need one. We need to get it. So, these guys, you're up against serious competition, Vic, because these kids can type.
They probably had thumbs that were blazing speed, and a couple people will have to be upset about not getting those for good reason. Now, we included on here, art is woot, art is meh, which you told me was a little bit of a catchphrase of yours.
It is, yeah. I think in it, what I'm trying to say, art is everything and nothing. It's trash and treasure. There's that one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think we can't take ourselves too seriously. It's important that we don't take ourselves too seriously. We make mistakes, and we sometimes do things that we, we're not proud of. But you just got to soldier on through it. And so it's many things in one little phrase, really. But if I were to categorize it, I'd say there is positive and negative in everything, and you go into that and get out of it what you're looking for. So do you see art as woo? Do you see art as meh? That's up to you,
Love it, and super dope POAP, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing something exclusive with the Whale members in our community here. Sid, we're up against the clock here. I don't know if you have another obligation. Let me know if you do, and I'll try to make it concise. But if not, we do have some questions that have been DM'd from me from the community, and I got more from you for you, of course. We're talking about other mediums that you create with. You mentioned music earlier. Do you actively play as a musician? Is that just a hobby of yours?
Yeah, I play guitar. Been known to dabble with all kinds of different instruments, to be honest. But I'm a singer and a guitarist. Um, I've had all kinds of funny little wacky bands and covers, and I've done all sorts of weddings and regularly, frequently play stuff. Done a ton of open mic nights and whatnot. I just enjoy it as another extension of the kind of arty gift that I've got. But I love being able to take music and to put that with a picture, and that's allowed. So I can pick from this part. I've got this part where there's music, there's painting, you've got spoken word, you've got photography, there's animation, there's so much. And you can take these things and just put them all together into one. That's acceptable. People actually want to experience that. And so that's been quite encouraging about the space, is that I've seen in real life, I've had quite a lot of experiences where the art community in this local region are kind of very stuck in their ways, oldie worldy. Digital would never even cross the lintel. It just wouldn't be allowed. And so that has been a huge frustration to me, because the validation that that is required isn't here locally. And so it's wonderful to be able to jump into a space with this global community of all these amazing people that have been nothing but kind, and they want the same things, and you can be a part of that together and share it. It's amazing. I love this.
That is super dope. So I have to ask the follow-up question: any
Yeah.
amalgamation of your music and art to come in NFTs?
Yes, there is. I haven't got anything with vocals in yet. Not yet, but there is stuff that is in the making with vocals in it, and some pretty fun music. There's also some stuff with more electronic kind of, how would you class it? It's sort of the beaty kind of. What would you class Two Fingers as a group? What sort of music are they? I don't know. But that sort of style, essentially, the kind of stuff that you would club to, but it would still be quite fitting in like a boss mode, kind of music. In a computer game, you'd be like, yeah, something serious is happening right now because of the track that comes on. That sort of stuff.
Ah, so some chip tune EDM, some kind of combo of the two. It sounds like it'll be
Something
something
that's
that,
kind of like,
yeah, it sounds like something I have to throw on my workout playlist. So we'll have to figure out how we can work that out.
yes.
Although I do work out to like Star Fox or whatever, so I guess I'm not normal in that sense. But I think you do the same thing. I think last time we checked.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
so man, so interesting learning about you and learning about your process. Could you walk me through some of your NFT collections that you have out right now?
The stuff that I've got, yeah. So this stuff here, this is the kind of main focus that we've had so far. The XEOZ stuff that's existing. I don't want to say too much about the individual pieces, because I'm all about the puzzles and the Easter eggs and what's hidden within them. And so, as an owner of one of these, there's an opportunity that may be on the horizon for a bit of gamification, which I love to be able to, keep that whole aspect going. Of there's not just a piece of work, but it gets revisited. And in revisiting that, there will be specific things that you will have to, pick out from what you're seeing. And so that's on the horizon. And then there's also, I got a couple of pieces. You got the Rarible up there. Excuse me one sec.
Sure. Before
Yeah, go on.
these come with the accompanying physicals?
Yes, they do. Yeah, boom.
Hold on, I gotta get a zoom on that.
Yeah, so they are on the wall right there. They're proper pieces, and they do exist, and they're spray paint, acrylic paint, tons of layers, not just layers of colors, but actually the same color layered up a ton of times as well. I love stuff that's really popping and bright, but it's difficult to be able to color over the top and actually form those lovely crisp edges without overlaying multiple times. So I love being able to wake up in the morning and have a brew, and this is the kind of stuff that is in my life. I absolutely love it.
Great.
I know
No,
it's
that's
a bit weird, but
no, that's fire. You should see my office. I got Megatron and Battle Cat and Godzilla, so I could definitely relate. I need to get my hands on one of those as well. So you mentioned Rarible.
yes, there's also some stuff on Rarible. So yeah, what I want to say is that with the physicals, so we mentioned there are physicals. They are the freebie, essentially. So I create this whole piece, and they take me a week to 10 days per piece to be able to get that to the point where I say, yeah, I'm satisfied that this is worthy of being out in the world. And it's a lot to do. So yeah, once that's all framed up and ready and boxed, those NFTs, as they whoever owns that in their wallet, that's your piece. It may well be on my wall, but it's yours. And if you want to pick it up, if you want to have it delivered, shipped, that's part of what you get. That's part of the experience of just supporting me. It's part of my thank you to you. I wanted to bring as much value to my collectors as possible, not only in the NFT, but you've got the provenance in that of this, and I love that.
And literally, when we would have you on inevitably for some super dope project you have down the line, there would be a space on your wall or be occupied by something else.
Yeah,
Awesome.
highly likely. Highly
Awesome.
likely. I have to make stuff. I can't just, I can't sit still. I'm one of those kind of people that just needs to be doing stuff and just creating. So yeah, we got these little bit bobs on Rarible, and these are just a little piss take. I enjoy this kind of stuff. Chicky nuggies. I love that. Have you seen the little video on YouTube? It's not Parry Grip. Who's the other guy? I don't remember his name, but Baby Yoda loves to eat chicky nuggies. Do you know that one? I'm sure you'll be able to find that. You just
I've been shown it. Yes.
Yeah. So you jump into Google and go and find that YouTube, whatever. That was the inspo behind this piece, but what it says, the reason why why I wanted to follow it up and make it is because right as I was coming into this space, there was this whole thing about there's these punks and they're worth millions and you need a punk and you need an NFT and you need to be doing this and throw all your cash at it. And I was just looking at it thinking, why is everyone so bloody greedy? And it made me laugh because it reminded me of Grogu, because he's probably the greediest creature that I've ever seen. Like if you've watched The Mandalorian, his greed knows no bounds. He just needs to be eating all the time. And it's stuff that it's almost the same size as him. So for me, this is there's Grogu who will never be full. And then there's Colonel Sanders who apparently never gave up. And guess what? If one of you, it's like an unstoppable force and an immovable object coming together and just, working that loop, it just continues on and on and on. And I just wanted to kind of play around with that theme of there's buckets and buckets. When's he going to stop? So yeah, that's the kind of, the bull run picture, if you like.
I don't know if Colonel Sanders is the influencers or how to interpret that. I guess there's some different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. That's up to you. Whoever sees it interprets it. This is just pure like a boss. This is literally, this is one of the most iconic American paintings. In American history, this is probably the most famous painting, and I just wanted to play around with it and have fun, because I'm sure it's also one of those paintings that almost everyone has got a version of that they've made as an artist at some point. Whether they like to admit it or not, this is just one of those. It's like the the little acid face, the little yellow happy smiley face with the black eyes and the smile. Everybody knows what that is. It's the same with this. It just stands out like a sore thumb. And so I wanted to make a SidXO interpretation, and I just thought she is definitely on an NES because that would be fitting of her age. and and yeah, so stuck Toad in there for a bit of homage. And just in case you don't know what NES is, then you've got Mario on the wall to remind you, oh, let's look up the roots of Mario and see where that takes me. But yeah, it's just me having fun. I think it's so important to enjoy yourself and have fun and not be taken too seriously. So yeah, that's out there.
I love it. And it looks like some of these are other minted things from some other things you're participating in. How about on OpenSea, which you have over here?
Yeah, so there's that piece there is it's like zaps. Do you know what zaps are? Where you go and stick them everywhere. So I've got these, and I go in somewhere like I don't know, there's public toilets, or I see a lamppost, so I go, oh, stick a zap on there.
Yep.
That's what these are in the meta, and I've stuck them on wallets because lampposts aren't available yet, and they're around and about, and it's called Want Some Candy. It's actually I don't know if you got sound on there. You got the sound?
I don't. I can take it off and put it back on, but
Oh, okay. It doesn't actually play.
If you want me,
well, it's well, people can go and have a listen to it if they want, if they're interested. But I just thought it was funny. So it's a lollipop, and it's proper candy, and then it's the Predator Want Some Candy mixed in, and I just liked that. I just liked how it all ties together because I love the Predator movies. Cheesy as, but so cool at the same time. Want some candy? Yeah, exactly. And it's so what people were doing, what I recognized people were doing is they're making an NFT, and then they're finding a list of wallets, and they're posting it to those wallets, and then when it's gone into the wallet, they take a screenshot and they say, Snoop Dogg's got one of my pieces, check this out. And you think, really? Is that actually where we've come to? And so I just thought, this is such a good little piss take. I'm just going to go and paint a load of wallets. So I did, and I've got a few of them. They're going to work out if you've got hold of one of those at any point, and they're going to be useful. So there's something in the works that involves those as well.
I think I did get zapped, so I'm excited to see what comes of it. I'm also excited to use the phrase zapping, or I zap something for when I put a sticker on something. So I like talking with you, Sid, because I get new things to add to my lexicon here.
There you go. So get zapping, people. Get wallet zapping.
Right.
So yeah, there's the stuff that I burned. I think you can still go through in the burn wallet, can't you? And you can trace stuff. So if anyone was really interested in looking stuff up there, you can go and see what's to come, because some of that stuff will get recycled. But yeah, here we go. Tezos. Where's Vic? Tez.
Vic is still. I think maybe he got his POAP, so he's he's celebrating at the moment.
Yeah, he probably is. He's in the pub or in bed. That's it, Goner. So yeah, on Tez, I have the Cloud Friend. Some guys approached me from this little group who is kind of promoting green things and protection of the environment, that sort of stuff. And they said, "Well, you got some bits on Tez. We sort of like the stuff that you do. Would you be interested in partaking in a giveaway?" And I thought, oh, that's really nice. Yeah, I'll do that because I like the sort of stuff that you're into. So that is one of, I believe I've got 2 pieces where I've made additions. This is one of them, and the other is the drive-by, Disney Plus drive-by. That's another tongue-in-cheek, invading quality time at a screen near you. So it's just, you got Deadpool, you got Mickey Mouse, you got Darth Vader. Disney now own the rights to all of these, and these guys are like some dangerous crew together, like out of some sort of like their essays, or some sort of on a rap video or something, and it just made me laugh. And if stuff makes me laugh and I enjoy it, then I end up making it, because at the very worst, I've got the thing that I wanted that was in my head. So yeah, that leads me on to the Afghanistan and Number Un, which are also pieces that are from Taking the Mickey, which is basically where people get to wear Mickey Mouse ears, and there's all kinds of little Easter eggs hidden within these, but they've got a slight sort of political position within them, shall we say, and it's all just done in fun, based on what we see in the media. And like I say, don't take yourself too seriously, otherwise you might end up in one of my paintings. So but this dude, I mean, I was cracking up when I was painting this, because he's got his little badge, and he's got all his bottle rockets, and he's made, man. This guy's done it. He's checked his watch. He's pointed at the dude that pushes the button, and it's happened. So yeah, I was having a good time when I painted this. But yeah, if you spot any of the Easter eggs or anything like that, and you want to guess what some of the stuff is, then feel free to DM me and send me stuff and say, oh, what does this mean? I'll be quite happy to get involved.
Yeah, so very cool. And I love the breadth of your work, right? That you're able to say, hey, I don't have just one lane. I have ways that I can express in different ways. This is my playground, but it has my signature, right? Like,
Yeah,
I certainly, in knowing you as an artist and coming to know you more as a person as well, could look at pieces and likely say, hey, this is something that Sid did,
yeah.
from this discussion, and having some familiarity with your work. So kudos to you to be able to do that across, different types of art that you're creating.
Yeah, thanks, man. There's the collabs bit there. I think Benzin owns that in our community. That was a piece I saw that I think it was Tony and DC were hosting some sort of contest, and it was based on, there were some images that they put into a pool, and then they said, we'll do something with these, and there were all these black and white images, and I looked at it, I thought, well, I don't want them black and white. This is not how I work. And so I saw that, and I just kind of, I didn't want to leave it alone. There's just something inside of me, a little bit like if you've been in Stream Chat, and I'm in Stream Chat, and you see some GIFs dropping in, and you see some magic little paintings that I've done where I've thrown them in. Sometimes I just can't help but to make a thing and drop it in there. So I put this together without asking permission or anything. I just like, sod it, I like this, I'm going to make it. And then I put it all together, laid it up, liked the output and what it said, and then I dropped it to DC on DM in Discord. And I think he woke up in the morning, because I forget, we're all like GM, and you're like, is it? Good grief. But yeah, he got back in touch with me. He said, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. What a surprise! I'm taking part in a collab that I didn't even know I was involved in." And I, sometimes I'll do that and sneak up on you, but you don't have to agree. And then if you don't agree with it, it doesn't get posted. But I still made a piece that I enjoyed making. So yeah, and one of my friends, he was in New Zealand for quite some time, and his kids grew up there, and his kid's favorite animal is the kiwi. He loves the kiwi bird, and so I painted this. It's like he's made out of sweeties. Like he's so ready. It's like he's going to pop. When you look into his eyes, it looks like he's just ready to burst, and all skittles are going to come out or something. And I just wanted to paint him something that would always make him smile, and they would feel uplifted by. So a friend of mine owns the real piece of this one. Super bright, beautiful little bit. Yeah, I like, When I was listening to Skeeny, he was saying, I just make what I want. I just do what I want. I do whatever I want, but it doesn't always turn out. And so I've got stacks of stuff all over the place that maybe we'll revisit, or maybe that just needs to go in the bin. But I enjoyed the process of testing it out to see if it worked. I encourage that. I encourage you to go, what's inside of my head? Can I make it, can I bring that into being? And within that process, sometimes the picture you have in your head actually doesn't work, even though you've made it, but you've learned how to sort of differentiate between the ones that will and the ones that won't, and they can drop in and out different boxes in your head. I encourage you to just get out there and do some stuff and enjoy doing it, because at the very worst, you've exercised your creative muscle, which is, it's a thing that almost gets put on a shelf as we grow. As we become adults, we lose the ability to take like little toy skateboards and dolphins and little ramps and ride them around on our desk and have fun. Why is that? Why don't you just enjoy yourself every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I have a problem stopping, but I'm sure that's a message that a lot of people could appreciate. I think it's hard to find the time is something that a lot of people would tell you with what's going on in their adult life. And what I like to say, and it's hard in practice, is to allocate time for yourself, just like you would schedule a meeting or different priorities or things you have to do. Put on your schedule, read your book, watch your show, go outside and ride your bike, go fishing, create art, block off time. And you look forward to it. It's enriching. I think it helps you in everything else that you perform. Easier said than done sometimes, but thank you for sharing that with everyone as well. I'd love, Sid, if I could run a few questions from the audience by you before we let you go, because I got some interesting ones that I think are, I'm intrigued to hear, and some that I'm almost embarrassed to ask you. But hey, that's the beauty of DM's questions. But before I'll circle back to what you're working on next and what we should be on the lookout for. Let's run through the questions from the audience first. Number one, which Street Fighter character is your go-to?
Oh, it's always I can't even think of his name now. Now I'm on stream. Like you get these mental blocks. As soon as you get into the hot seat, it's like your brain doesn't work anymore.
I got you. What does he look like? And what does he do?
Tiger! What's his name? The kickboxer. Oh, my goodness. It looks like Dalzin with shorts on and...
Sagat?
Yes. Sagat.
Okay.
There we go.
Nice. So you have some skill.
Love that guy.
You definitely have some skill in Street Fighter if you use Sagat. Not me. I'm Blanca. I will just button mash and electrocute you and hope I survive.
No way. No, my kids do that all the time. I'm like, I'm not having this. I'm literally going to lay some knees on you and smack you in.
now, if you come over to Mortal Kombat, we play some Killer Instinct, then it's a different story. Then I'm going out Scorpion. I may have Glacius or Orchid, but either way, we'll have to set that up another time. The next question. We're gonna have to set this up and put it on stream. I think there's a way.
Let's do it.
This is a great one. With your tech background, are there any tech-heavy integrations to come in your work, either generative, VR, or playing with the smart contract?
Yeah, I'm playing with smart contract right now. There is a sort of a gamification aspect that's tying into things, and I have played a lot with generative stuff. So yeah, there's a tick 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 on the horizon, but I'm not going to give you any dates and times. I don't want to hold myself to that because life really is quite busy at the moment. So it'll be happening soon.
Right. Great question there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what this one is about. Are you wearing pants?
Did you not see me stand up and down? You guys haven't been watching.
I'm just relaying the question, Sid. You have fans, and I have to do it justice.
Oh my!
Excellent.
You see those?
I do. Thank you. I don't know if someone is concerned or excited. I really don't know.
would that have brought up some sort of a box and a blur, or would this have gone out to the world? Like, what would have happened there if I wasn't wearing pants?
I don't
Like,
know.
how dare you ask that question and
We
not
would have
expect a response?
we would have said it first there for sure. Given your tech prowess, are you embedding anything into the physicals that people take from you and you send out?
Oh, yes, there is a little tie together. So there is a smartphone link up between a piece of hardware and your phone, and they talk to one another and act kind of like as an unlockable, I guess. So yeah, I'm not saying anything more than that.
Very cool. Someone asked, for your woodwork, how do you find a random log that would be that big? You don't have a source? Do you chop down
Oh no,
trees?
no, no. I go to there's right during COVID times, during the sort of like the early 2020s, two of my businesses were completely just sacked off. Like all the investment, everything was gone. I didn't lose the businesses, but they didn't make anything. And so I needed to find money from somewhere. And my go-to, because I'm quite a physical guy, I'm a practical guy, I'm resourceful. I went straight to some of my friends that are doing stuff where you didn't have to go into people's houses, so it was landscaping. And I ended up doing an absolute shed ton of landscaping work and got pretty darn good. And so we were building like beautiful big oak pergolas and all kinds of wonderful stuff like that. And I thought, well, I could do some of this stuff for myself now. So I started taking all kind of projects myself, and eventually I got these hookups with this this big lumber yard, and so I can go and select bits and bobs, and I can tell them dimensions, and they send me out a ton of kit, and then I've got to find a place to store it and keep it all dry and chop it up. It's good fun. I love to try loads of different things. If people say to me, "This isn't possible," I like to know. I'm just one of those kinds of people.
Very cool, and ended up being a great question. So thanks for sending that in, guys. This is a little bit of a
Yeah.
hot seat question for me. So 3 categories. I want your top 3 things that come to your head. Quick answers. So hot seat. Top 3 80s cartoons.
The Centurions, the Children of the Sun, see your time
Mysterious Cities of Gold.
Cities of Gold, and Mask. Mask.
Ooh,
Oh,
Mask.
the
Great
vocoder. Mask Crusader. Love that.
When it hits, it
Yeah.
goes, my mask. I'm ready to run through a
Yeah.
brick wall. Yeah. All
Oh,
right.
I do it all the time.
Top 3 meals.
Top 3 meals. Definitely right at the top, sushi. Next to, I can't really choose an order, but Mexican and Indian. I love chili. I love hot fire stuff. Sushi though is so fresh, isn't it? It's so like
Nice. Yeah, and sushi is a very
yeah,
textural experience, right? So definitely
yeah.
definitely adds something different. How about workout songs to get you pumped up?
Okay. Workout. So fight, fight, fight by Two Fingers. That's a good one. Let me go. Hold on. I've got my phone here. Let me pull up my list. I've got a list right here, baby.
You might be able to throw the Mask intro on there.
Good. And we've got. Ooh, we got some Dr. Dre. And remember the name Fort Minor?
Yes.
What a track! I think there's that Reseda Drive track, Second to None. Do you know that?
I don't. I'm not to look
You
it
can
up
check by the
afterwards.
rep, second to none. I'll show you how to get this done. You can check by the rep, second to none. You must know that. You heard
I
that?
think we're gonna need your playlist after this, Sid. You're gonna have to drop it
Man.
and come back into the Will Discord and drop the playlist for everyone later. And I saved
Oh,
us.
suitable now.
Well, I mean, I need more than four songs. It sounds like you got fire the whole way through. And I say
Yeah.
this as a pretty serious one for last because I think this is a very thoughtful
Okay.
question that someone sent me. How do you experiment with your art in the NFT space without feeling like you're compromising your scarcity or the brand you're building?
Uh, so without compromising scarcity. So in what sense? Like if you whoever asked it, um, are you talking about just the amount of pieces that are out there of a particular type, or in terms of scarcity, as in all of the NFTs? One thing, for example, that I feel is important to me, and don't take this as you need to make this decision as artists, because it's entirely up to you, whatever you want to do. But I don't like to do editions. I like to, especially with NFTs, I like to have just one of one, that particular piece. And then, sorry, rest of the question, just remind me.
Um, how do you experiment without feeling you're compromised? Scarcity and building your brand. So I guess they're worried if they make a misstep, if they experiment and do something and, maybe they're paralyzed and thinking, oh, that'll look bad. I don't want to put out something that doesn't sell or looks like it's, they want to experiment, but they're concerned about doing it.
Don't be, um, like this is a process where you are everyone's going to have eyes on you, but everyone's going to have eyes on everybody else. And you look at some of the stuff that's out there. Don't be ashamed of what you've made. And that it in terms of compromising, I think that's not necessarily a helpful phrase to use when you look at your work, because if you believe in that piece and that's something that you are ready to put out there, you've compromised nothing. You've actually chosen specifically to be represented by that. And so I would kind of combat that by saying, I vet my pieces and run them through people and things like that, and the majority of the vote is always mine. And I sometimes just do it because I want to see how people receive the stuff, but it's going out there anyway. Yeah, just enjoy yourself. Just as far as the whole scarcity thing is concerned, don't be concerned by that, because as you move forward in time, you will make more pieces. You might make thousands of pieces, and that shouldn't take away from the fact that the value is in the fact you made it. Like who is it that is the source of creation for that piece? That's where the value lies, as far as I'm concerned. If it's not SidXO, my value hasn't gone into the piece. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for that great question. Sid, I love to wrap
Yeah,
by
good.
getting a little insight, maybe some alpha or peek under the tent from you. What are some upcoming things that you're working on? Any projects we should have on the radar coming from you soon?
Okay. There's a couple of things I'm working on that will be on the lines of more one of ones, XEOZ type stuff, but with a mixture of multimedia involvement. I don't want to say too much more, really. There's obviously some really cool and fun stuff that's already out there. If that style and that sense of humor is attractive to you, then these things will probably be right up your street. If it's not, then they may not be. But I appreciate the fact that we all like different things, and that's why art is meh.
I love it. Well, thank you for the hint of alpha. That's what I do. You better get off the stream before I squeeze some more out of you, man. But thank you so much. You spent nearly an hour and a half with us today. I feel like we could
Sorry.
talk more. So perhaps down the line, if you're open to it, when you have some immersive, crazy techno integration project, which I'm sure is in scope for you given your background. Would love to have you back on to talk more. Sid, it's been an absolute pleasure to learn more about you. We look forward to continuing to learn about you and seeing more of your work as you put it out there into the world and on the Whale Discord. Thank you so much, my friend.
No worries. Thanks for the support, and thanks for being such an awesome community, everyone. Love being part of the whale community. It's absolutely awesome. So I can't say enough about it. Take care, guys, and really enjoyed this. So hopefully you did too.
Have a good one.